we'll put up a link for people. The Culdi monks were people who had been seduced very much by the old ancient traditions of Ireland. And so they had been frowned upon by Latin Catholics because they a little bit were too much involved in the old Celtic Druidic stuff.
They began to merge almost.
They began to well, they didn't merge so much as they had stolen that knowledge.
Took over that.
Yes, because the people we're talking about, remember, these are no godly people. These are people who had annihilated the Druids. People, when they follow my book, they'll see exactly how this process took place. We're jumping a little bit ahead here, but we're doing that because we want to isolate and highlight this most interesting fact regarding the first Catholic monastic orders in Ireland, who are known technically as the Chaldean monks. These Chaldeans, although they suppressed Druidism, they were highly interested in it. They didn't let this be known, but they were really licking their lips over this. They sat up late at night reading the ancient books and learning about the people they had destroyed, the bardic traditions, you see, the lineages of the kings, all the stuff that I go into. Well, these boys were now the new archivists of it. You tell me they're not going to open those treasure troves and dig around in there?
Of course they're...
With their feet up and smoking their big cigars?
Yeah, I never really, believed, I guess, that idea that a lot of the ancient books and so forth actually was burned, like what happened in South America and so forth. I think a lot of this knowledge was, taken and stored away, basically, and we're told that they were burned and all gone by now,
We're giving you the proof right now. How could the salt line knowledge, which was not invented by the Templars, they arrive in the 11th century AD? The salt lines are 4,000 BC or more. I believe they go way back. They go back to the Indus Valley, they go back to the Druids. The Druids and the people of the Indus Valley were connected, you see. So these things are ancient. How did they learn this knowledge? And remember, as Christians, you're not meant to learn this knowledge.
Yeah, it's magic, evil.
That's right. So here we have the proof, positive. Not only did they know about the dimensions of the earth which they inherited, but they started to incorporate the same pagan ideas that they, on a paper, forbade you and your forefathers and your descendants to study. This is how they get empowered. Because, as we all said again, and this is written in blood, let's put it up in neon lights in Times Square. Ancient history matters. Ancient history explains what is happening in today's world. If you don't want to know what's going on in today's world, never study history. Ignore it. If you do want to know what's going on in today's world, start getting into ancient history, or let's say the alternative history, because then you're going to find the answers. So these power elites, what are we talking about here? It's already established in the world by dozens of authors, hundreds of authors, that the Templars, Knights Templar, the Freemasons, the Order of Malta, the Sovereign Order of the Knights of Malta, the Hospitallers, right, the Order of Zion, and how many more can we add? That these secret societies worked for royalty, are highly empowered with some unknown occult knowledge, and basically is controlling the banks, controlling the charities, controlling the political systems of the world. If you don't believe it, just study the symbolism on these political orgs. Then what are we finding? As in the last lot of years, we're discovering that these people were educated by monks who were privy to the Druidic knowledge of ancient Ireland, and that Bernard de Clairvaux, you see, and his mentors, or Robert de Molesme, you see, and Hugh de Payens, and Godefroy de Bouillon, whose names and I hope people are starting to get familiar with, you see. People who were involved in the First Crusade.
Yes. Or
perhaps even William I, the Conqueror, William the Conqueror of England, or Richard the mad, lion-heart, crazed-out psychopath that he was. The Plantagenet kings, that Edward I, the Hammer of the Scots. The Sinclair family, where does it stop? That St. John's Wood and most of the boroughs of London, there's 28 of them, by the way, relating to the 28 dimensions of the moon. That the very boroughs of London are based on the lunar cycle.
Really?
Oh, let's not even start with that. I mean, we don't want to start the program on all the examples here. We'll be here for till next week.
Yeah.
But a person who's made a study of this, who's looked into the names of the provinces. Why was Ireland divided into 5 provinces? Was that to do with consciousness, perhaps? Is there a special reason why the number 5, turned up in all of this?
Very interesting.
You see, 5 provinces, 4 around a central one. What's going on here? Or these, as I say, these geomantic. But let's just keep it purely scientific. Let's not, go into too many tangents. Let's keep it specific to measurement and this whole idea that measurements distinct measurements based on the phi ratio, based on the cubit, based on the megalithic yard were used worldwide, but they originated in the West. The great scholar Anthony West, right? This is John Anthony West, Egyptologist, swears blind. You can see it in programs he's made, in the series of programs that he made on Egypt. And we can link to those for people. Swears blind that the foundations of the pyramid, when you go down to the bottom strata of the pyramid, is Irish by design. That the only place that it actually looks like, it's not common of Egyptian people to build like that. But it looks very much like the megaliths of Ireland and England.
Okay, that's very interesting.
I wonder if he knows what the power of what he's saying. To me, it's no problem. Of course it was. That was the disciples of Horus, the Shamsu Hor. There isn't a single statue in existence, no matter how far you go back in the millennia, that doesn't show Horus with blue eyes, Henrik.
That's
and many of his titles was the Westerner, the god of the West. Okay, same with Anubis and many of the gods. They have Western symbolism tied into their word roots.
Exactly. The Anubis from the West, who, by the way, traveled down the Thames recently, a return maybe to the the land of the old.
Exactly.
So to speak.
These are rituals. People by now should realize that when you see a boat floating down the Thames with the Egyptian god Anubis on it, on the Thames River, what does that word mean? Why did it happen on that particular month? What's symbolic about those dates?
Yeah.
Why on earth would the god of the dead, you see? Is it because an old age is closing? See, Apuat, right, or Anubis, his real name, was meant the opener of the ways, the opener of the gates. The river represents the Milky Way.
Yeah, that's
opening
right.
the gate, the what? Opening the zodiological gate to a new zodiological age. The Milky Way cuts from Taurus and Gemini through to Sagittarius and Scorpio through the 13th sign. Okay, so the number 13 turns up in this ritual. Anubis turns up in this ritual. The mystery of the Minotaur, where the hero goes into the underworld, Well, that's another Milky Way river of Styx symbolism. Because Mina is the ending of the word of Gemini, and Tor is the beginning of the word of Taurus.
Minotaur.
So a Minotaur, right, is a code word in Greece, not very well hidden, but hidden well enough so that most people wouldn't notice it, to represent the division between the signs of Gemini, right, Gemini, and Taurus. It's the same thing they use with a car, the Mini. It's only for a two-seater car, right? Mini, Gemini, it's the twins. The car Mini should be called the Gemini or Gemini because it's only two-seater for two people.
Yeah.
Right? They're using all the symbolism on you all the time. But this great river that Anubis, the god of the opener of the way, he can't open the way without closing a previous way. He doesn't open a new gate without closing the old gate. The Vatican symbol is two keys, isn't it? Two crossed keys.
That's right.
You close one gate, you open another gate. These are the ministers of the gates. Did you know that the very word pope means bridge, pontifex?
Or door even.
Or doorway, right? And the word cardinal,
the hinges.
is the hinges, means the hinges of the door.
That's right.
So these are door portal openers, way openers. The Pope did the millennial address to the Jews. Remember when he said, "Oh, we're all sorry." Remember that? That was again at the door of Pisces, just before the Aries came, back a few years ago. When so most Vatican things are done at very specific times. So yes, when you see these rituals, and there's going to be many people need to brace themselves because there's going to be so many more. Because things are moving now, and you're not going to have a clue what it means unless you're very, very familiar with the occult story behind a lot of what these people do.
So you think that these rituals, and especially again the gate or even the Stargate, a lot of these themes are recurring, and a lot of people are looking into this. That the specifics of it, or the general outline, is that this is astrological in its fundamentals. That this has to do with the closing of one age and the opening of a new, basically.
That's right. And they're going to do it whether we like it or not. In the DVD on astrotheology, I went into a lot of this to show exactly what it means when you're dealing with the age of Aquarius and the change over to the age of Pisces, and how symbolism needs to change, how the status quo often changes, how many of the social idioms that we know change, and often a lot of them are done consciously, conspicuously. But my major concern, you see, is that, look, these people inherited their knowledge from the ancient Irish Druids. How come they don't allow us direct access to that?
Yeah, they want to say that they invented it, of course.
That's
they
right.
are there,
and they're using it exclusively. See, it's not... God love them. I'm not envious. Let them use it. But let us use it too. We have to redress the power balance in the world. And people go, how are we going to get rid of these evil ones? Oh, lament, woe is me. You get, as Jordan Maxwell has said so many times, you balance out the problem. You restore your own power by using the same powers they use. Hope we can grasp this point. They are empowered because they've used this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
They're empowered because, as you say, they've messed with our DNA. They've got us to be divided schizoid beings.
Mm-hmm.
We deal with that by using the same arcane knowledge in the same way. And we use it more sacredly than they do. We go back to the traditions of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can believe that there will never be change in this world until we do.
That's right. And again, then, so, I mean, if you want to know who is at the top of that pyramid and the 14th step, as you mentioned, you need to go into history here.
What is a bloody pyramid? How's that made?
Yeah.
How are all the structures made? Look at these megalithic sites. Half the people of the world, they don't even know how the stone was lifted. They couldn't even, there's not a crane in existence that can lift the Baalbek stone.
No.
We've got to realize that talking Merovingians, Dagobert I spent a lot of time in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get around this idea? Bernard de Clairvaux. The people who sat down invented bloody crusades, man. Who tutored the noble families of Europe, spent time studying the ancient mysteries of the Druids that they had stolen and appropriated. I call them Atonists, but let's not get into that. These solar cult worshippers that we know as Templars and Freemasons and what have you, are empowered in their lodges by secret arcane knowledge that I believe, as a teacher, should be shared, should be available, let's say, to all of the people of the world, those who are hungry for it.
Mm.
And I believe that if there's going to be let's close a door of our own and open another one into the idea that we also now need to be initiated. Not just a small clique of manipulating Luciferians, but the whole world. The people who are really, what I would call self-initiated, who are priests and priestesses in their own right, need to use this. Because these kings sat at the feet of the Chaldean monks, who had already sat at the feet of the Druidic knowledge and appropriated it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear, Butler and Defoe wondering, oh my goodness, how did this all happen? Wasn't it a great thing that the Knights Templars wanted to embody the feminine principle, of Mary? Mm-hmm. 3 bloody cheers. Okay, is that as far as you've got? Or in the Da Vinci Code, the big mystery is that just they want to incorporate, the Holy Mother. Mm. Where did those ideas come from? Mm. It wasn't just segmented to that. It wasn't just, let's just take this little piece of the ancient tradition. These were people who were too imbued with the entire pagan tradition. Until Big Daddy from Vatican came and wrapped their fingers, you see, and slaughtered their own people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The Chaldeans were annihilated, as the Templars, as you know, were, right? The Templars were annihilated by their own people.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Did you know that the real reason for that is because the Templars were they were playing hooky too much from the main curriculum?
Mm-hmm.
They were so infatuated, so interested in the previous, that they stopped doing the homework for the Pope. And the Pope, knowing what this would lead to, is maybe what you would call a AWOL. How do you know that then these noble families don't turn on you and maybe completely go back? We got to keep them under control. We can't have these people bunking school and causing dissension in the ranks. We'll lose control. So in exactly the same way as they destroyed the Ammonists of Egypt, in exactly the same way that they destroyed the Druids of Ireland, they turned on their own people. And people who've studied officially in the modern era of history, that they know that the Chaldean monks of Ireland was suppressed. This is commonly known in Ireland, at least this part of history is known, because it technically falls under the Christian era, you see. And we know, of course, everybody knows now that the Templars were suppressed and their Grand Masters, taken out. That was just a sign. That was just a symbol saying, we know you're one of us. We know we don't really have that much against you. But, we're going to do a Kennedy on you here. We got to blow your brains out. We got to burn you at the stake because you have gone too far. You've done the unthinkable. You have broken the code. And if people doubt how powerful these codes are, just go online and watch the Brotherhood of the Bell. These whistleblowing movies that show you just how important obedience is.
Oh, yeah.
And that they will absolutely sacrifice you. Because remember, they don't think of it as killing you or murdering you. You're being sacrificed. And there's a big difference between ritual sacrifice of one of your own gang, which has happened many times in history, and just blowing their heads off or murdering them. Like, getting rid of a Malcolm X. That's different. That's killing a mug. Somebody who dares to stand up in the face, you see, and say, the hell with you and your system. Killing